up? It's your girl, Sasha Banks, the legit boss. You are watching Going In Raw. You like that?
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And, of course, taped live at Twitch, twitch.tv/Steve and Larson, where we will be doing our recap of Elimination Chamber this coming Sunday. But, of course, prior to that, we're going to have our live reactions for Elimination Chamber over on the YouTube at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. If you're watching the show right now on YouTube, hey, hit that subscribe button and maybe even that little notify bell next to it, because that helps grow the channel or something. I don't know. Anyways, you'll always know when we're talking about wrestling, I guess, if you do that. So anyways, we had the go. It kind of felt like the one episode where they really addressed Elimination Chamber prior to Elimination Chamber. I know they talked about it last week, but I didn't watch that episode of Raw. So for me, this was basically the lone episode of Raw that they talked about Elimination Chamber. I know they did last week, though. Anyways, and it's the last one before Elimination Chamber, so we got a lot of stuff figured out.
Yes. Yeah, kind of stuff. Yeah.
So
they did
judging
set some stuff in place last week, but yeah, you didn't watch it. So as far as you're concerned, last Monday never happened.
Non-canon for me, man.
Which was to your betterment because, man.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing.
Ooh.
Maybe you enjoyed Raw a bit more today because you didn't have to watch it last
That's entirely possible. Also, I killed a massive plate of nachos in your name, and it was awesome.
Stop saying that.
I avenged thee.
Stop saying that.
Okay, all right. So
enough.
We've been talking during our Twitch pre-show. We are obviously on two different pages about Raw tonight, which is totally fine. We have agreed to disagree in the past. We're going to play a little bit of good cop, bad cop tonight, but maybe we can get on common ground before that.
I didn't say Raw. We talked about the pre-show. I didn't say Raw was bad. I just thought it was mediocre. And because it's mediocre in comparison to trash, is seen as good. That's all I said.
Okay, so I agree with that. I agree with that. But me talking about Raw is just going to sound a bit rosier than you talking about Raw, if the pre-show is to be believed. Let's talk about this briefly, though. Apparently, Lacey Evans is actually pregnant.
That's according to Wrestling Inc., yes.
And she mentioned as such tonight. I was kind of surprised that she was even allowed. I mean, I don't know. I'm not there. I don't know what the various levels of clearance are. I was kind of surprised they even let her up on the apron. When you're,
I don't know. Maybe they had to find. Yeah. You'd think they could have found another way, maybe to break the news that she is pregnant.
Literally a million different ways would have been better.
Yeah, and like in fact, the way I wonder if literally what the situation was is that they had the script done for the show, prior than how they normally do it. At least for that part of it. And then they found out she was pregnant because according to Wrestling Inc., she told them today, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So then they just take that segment of the show, cross out what was there at the end, including that promo before the match.
Right.
They kept that, but just the part at the end, it's like, okay, she doesn't tag in. She backs off the apron. She grabs the mic, says she's pregnant.
It really sounds like that was the case, because that was a weird promo. So the sequence, if you haven't seen Raw, this is what happened. Her, Peyton Royce, and Ric Flair all come down because they're going to have a tag match with Charlotte and Asuka. Mm-hmm. Before the match starts, Lacey Evans has a promo where she talks about, God, I honestly don't know what they have, like a little candy for Valentine's Day that says "Bite me on it" for Charlotte. Yeah, and then she looks at Asuka. It was bad stuff. Peyton looks so uncomfortable to be there. She looks over at Asuka and says, "Sorry, Asuka, I don't have a present for you, but this Sunday at Elimination Chamber, you're going to be gifting me that title," or something like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so it's like, oh man, now I have a hard decision to make for predictions, because are they going to do this?
Yeah, they're still promoting a match that they know full well isn't going to happen at that point.
Right. And then, so they have a match, and I'm doing the air quotes thing, where Peyton Royce is the only competitor from her team to be in there. Peyton Royce goes to tag in Lacey Evans, and instead of get in, she gets down, gets on the mic, and says, "Hey, Charlotte, I have something to tell you. I'm pregnant." And then Ric Flair turns around, and he's like, "Woo, what? Really? Just call me the daddy." Woo. all that stuff. I was doing the crossing like the. So evidently, I guess now that match is not going to happen.
Seemed to be the case. And they did nothing outside of that segment to address any of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's Asuka just not have a match now at Elimination Chamber?
How long?
It was like her first title defense in forever.
How long was this segment from beginning to end, would you say? 10 minutes?
Yeah, that sounds fair.
10 minutes, including maybe a commercial break, like when they started the match or something like that. They couldn't found a different way to do 10 minutes, like just Charlotte versus Peyton Royce. And then Lacey Evans comes down to distract, and then Charlotte, about to approach her, says, "Hold on, Charlotte, you can't touch me. I'm pregnant." Like, I feel like this was just, it feels like exactly what you said. They had the script and they marked out the end, not remembering that at the beginning they directly referenced the match that now cannot take place. It's just, that was a mess.
Yeah, it was a mess. I mean, I guess they really want to sell the swerve aspect of Lacey saying she's pregnant. Well, then you got to keep up the ruse that the match at Elimination Chamber is going to happen. But like, what's the end game for Lacey? She, is just like, sticking it in Charlotte's feels, like emotionally, I guess, hurting her feelings because she's pregnant with her dad's kid.
Yeah, that's a pretty, I mean, to be honest with you, it's probably been on a bunch of soap operas. I haven't watched a lot of them, but that would not shock me if that was a storyline there. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, beyond that, I don't know. I thought Raw, it was a step up. Was it a mediocre episode of Raw? I would have put it above that. I would have put it as a good episode of Raw. I'll be honest, for me, it was, and again, maybe this was because I got to take a week off. Thank you, Enforcer. All hail Enforcer. It felt like the first time in a long time, and I know you're going to hard disagree with this, felt like the first time in a long time that, because of the Gauntlet, that 3 hours was actually warranted. And I haven't said that about Raw in a very
one thing
long
I mentioned
time.
On the pre-show kickoff show was that so much Raw is just riddled with so much inefficiency. Like you said, the Miz TV segment at the beginning, you didn't mind. Yeah. Because in comparison to other Miz TV, everything about Raw is relative to Raw as the normal. As compared to other episodes of Raw, this segment of Miz TV wasn't that bad. But really, the only bit of it that mattered was Miz at the end saying it wasn't going to be Elimination Chamber. There was a more efficient way to do that. Would have taken up half the time, maybe a third of the time.
Yeah, but I don't think Miz dropping out was kind of a big deal. The thing that I liked in the macro sense of Raw tonight, in the larger, bigger picture, is that it actually did have the one thing that Raw so often lacks, and that's stakes in a through line. It's the thing that the Elimination Chamber really actually mattered tonight. And people were jockeying to get in when Miz dropped out. And for that to be the catalyst, I thought that having him talk over Drew for 3 to 5 minutes or whatever it was, and then Drew hits him with that headbutt, which was a really clear-looking headbutt, really clean-looking headbutt. And he gets on the mic. He does that great throw of the Money in the Bank, and then he leaves. And then Miz, every once in a while, Miz can pull out that talking smack voice of his, where he looks into the camera and they go close up on him, and they did that with this, and him dropping that "I'm out of Elimination Chamber" felt heavier because of that build. I thought it was actually a fairly well-paced Miz TV. And this is coming from the guy who hates Miz TV with a passion.
It was all right. There's so many talking bits on Raw, like AJ's promo before the Gauntlet match, completely unnecessary.
Agree with that.
Time. There's so much on Raw I feel like just is there to fill time. And I feel like there's probably a way you could, another Miz TV segment, you cut half the time off of it, you get the same effect.
I think so. I'll disagree with that, but maybe we can agree that Lucha House Party and Matt Riddle, I'm so over them tacking together. Yeah. Because I don't know why they're doing it anymore.
And I mean, we know Riddle's supposed to be this goofy guy. That promo adds nothing to his character.
That adds nothing. And honestly, they could have. I mean, I know maybe, it's a wrestling show, do wrestling matches. But let's say they had 2 hours. If you want to start talking about efficiency, Matt Riddle could have been dropping a promo about wanting to come back after. At some point, Riddle has to be pissed off about this Bobby Lashley stuff. At some point,
cool. He seems to be totally cool to eat hurt locks all day.
At some point, he needs to come back and say, "Hey, Bobby Lashley snapped on me last week. I want my shot back." And instead, he was just going on about presidents and stuff. And then, of course, he's not paying attention. Bob Lashley isn't out there with him. Of course, he can be behind you. And he gets put in the hurt lock again. Now, if we're talking efficiency, yes, you do that in a promo where Riddle comes out. He demands a rematch with Lashley. And instead, he just gets put in a hurt lock again. And you've just shaved 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever off your show. I completely agree with that. That is one segment that I could have done without.
But you know what the problem is? Raw's 3 hours long.
Okay, all right. I know, and I agree.
That is the root of so many of Raw's problems.
It really is. I will agree with you.
So you have all these segments there simply to fill time, rather to advance stories.
I was happy though when they had that gauntlet start at the top of the third hour.
Yeah, that's cool. They gave it the full last hour.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. We had some good. I thought the gauntlet was pretty decent too. Let's just kick it off though. We started off with Miz TV with Drew McIntyre. Miz does the thing. He starts talking, and every time he sort of stops to make a point and allows his guest to talk, as soon as his guest is about to talk, he starts talking. So he says this week, statistically speaking, your road to WrestleMania could end at Elimination Chamber. He just keeps on talking. Drew finally yells at Miz, "Shut the hell up." And he warns him not to interrupt again. Drew starts to talk. Miz does interrupt, eats a Glasgow kiss. Then Drew picks up the Money in the Bank briefcase, launches it at the stage. And then Miz, after Drew leaves, gets back on, talks about Elimination Chamber, says he's a master strategist. Let's see here. And then Miz...
It doesn't exactly work out for Miz in the end, though, does it?
No, not really. Miz claims he's in control, a la Eric Bischoff.
Well, he says, I'm working on an entirely different level, addressing what Edge said about him last week.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And then he says he's removing himself from the Elimination Chamber match.
Like seemingly most of what he said after Drew left was a response to what Edge said about him last week. I'm thinking a whole other level. I see, there's so many variables in play. That's one thing could go wrong, but only one thing needs to go right, and I can cash in. I'm thinking a whole other level. I'm a master strategist. But yeah, end result, he's out of the chamber match. Next, Hurt Business versus Lucha House Party, Matt Riddle in 6-man tag action before the bout. Steve mentioned it. Riddle walks up to Lucha House Party, asks him about the favorite presidents, mentions Lincoln because he was in that vampire documentary, Teddy Roosevelt, and his favorite, Harrison Ford.
Wait, did he call him Roosevelt?
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt.
That.
And he said because he had the monocle too.
That's pretty funny.
So anyways, Hurt Business is in control of this match for a long time until Metalik hits Shelton with a DDT. Riddle and Cedric come in. They go back and forth. Riddle has the upper hand for a bit. Eventually, though, MVP's back in. He decks Riddle, hits ball and elbow. He was selling knee. Lucha House Party break up that pin. And then things kind of break down. Cedric hits Metalik with a lumbar check. Shelton hits Lindsay with a knee. And then Riddle knees Shelton out of the ring. And then Lindsay follows with a springboard splash onto him. And then Riddle hits the final flash. And then a floating bro and MVP to get the win. Riddle, Lucha House Party go up the ramp. Lashley comes out, destroys Lucha House Party. Puts Riddle in the hurt lock yet again.
Okay, before we continue, here's a word from the sponsor of today's show, Harry's. Larson.
Yeah?
Far too often in life, we're forced to choose between quality or a fair price. But I'm happy to say that with Harry's, you don't have to choose. Harry's gives you award-winning blades at factory direct prices.
Yeah, Harry's are such believers in quality that they purchased their own factory in Germany so they could own each and every step in the manufacturing process. They've combined a simple ergonomic design with 5 sharp blades and managed to do that while offering their blades at a fair price. And right now, Harry's is offering their starter set plus a free body wash for just $3 at harrys.com/raw.
Yeah, I've been using Harry's for a while now to keep this face of mine baby smooth. And I've got to say the quality of their blades is top notch. In fact, Harry's stands by the quality of their blades so much that they offer up a 100% money back guarantee.
If you want a clean, smooth shave like Steve here, well, do I have a scoop for you? For a limited time, Harry's has an exclusive offer for Going In Raw listeners. New customers can get a Harry's starter set and a free body wash for just $3 at harrys.com/raw. That's over a $16 value for just $3.
That's right. You'll get a 5-blade razor, a weighted handle, foaming shave gel, a travel cover, and a travel size body wash. It's an incredibly great deal, but act fast while supplies last. Go to harrys.com/raw to redeem your offer. After that, we had Miz and Adam Pearce backstage, and Miz is saying, hey, thanks for the opportunity to be in Elimination Chamber. He says, you know what? I'm out, though, and I'd like to suggest a young up-and-comer, hungry, reaching for the brass ring to be in my place in Elimination Chamber. And, of course, I want to choose the noticeably absent John Morrison. And Pearce is like, okay. And so he says, I'll take it under consideration. After that, Mandy Rose is backstage chatting up Bad Bunny. She's got on one of his T-shirts, asks if she could cop one for her friend Dana Brooke. Mm-hmm. And she leaves. Enter Damian Priest. Hola, friendo. And they have an impromptu interview with Sarah. They're both very happy to be there. Bad Bunny's going to be on SNL this weekend, apparently.
Yeah, they promoted that a ton tonight.
They did. Meanwhile, right next to them, they're interrupted by Tozawa rolling up R-Truth for the 24/7 title. He's excited. He runs into Priest, who slams Tozawa into a case. He falls over. Priest looks down, says, Dale, get on him. And then Bad Bunny goes and pins Tozawa for the win. Mm-hmm. New 24/7 title. He got a picture with Triple H pointing.
Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. That's great. Next, New Day. They walk up to Adam Pearce, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston. Kofi's wondering why Pearce is considering putting Morrison in the chamber match. Yet Kofi, as former WWE champion, is not getting the same consideration. Woods says Pearce has no idea. Kofi says, you weren't around when I won the title. And then Woods says, yeah, Pearce has no idea because he hasn't given Xavier his best of 5 final match against Retribution. And he says there's 4 people in the match. Why not put Kofi in? Kofi says, yeah, if Miz is out, then I'm in. Miz wanders in, wonders why the New Day are there. Kofi says, well, essentially, I'm in the match. Woods adds that Morrison has never been WWE champion. Miz says he was ECW champion. Kofi says, Miz, you don't get to pick the replacement. Pearce tells everybody to relax. Suggests Miz face Kofi tonight. If Miz wins, Morrison is in. Kofi is in if he wins. Woods said it's time for Kofi Mania Part 2. Miz says something about sequels sucking. And the New Day were like, oh, sequels suck. What about Marine 4? What about Marine 5? What about Marine 6?
Yeah. Did they ever reference, did commentary ever reference why Morrison wasn't there? They probably should.
No, just Miz mentioned that he was talking to a producer about recording a Bad Bunny diss track.
Ah, okay.
So he said on Miz TV.
Okay, all right. After that, we had a nice little Elimination Chamber video package.
There's 2 of them tonight.
And after that, we had the bit. We already went down this bit, so we don't have to reiterate the Charlotte, Lacey Evans, Asuka, Peyton Royce bit with the match and stuff. And then after that, we had a Sheamus interview about the Gauntlet match tonight. He basically said, I shouldn't have to do this. I challenged Drew. Drew accepted. That's a verbal commitment. I shouldn't have to do this. So, there's that. And then we had a really good Miz versus Kofi Kingston match for that chamber spot. I thought that they gave this a ton of time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, that's another thing that Raw, when it's crap, is usually lacking in really long, really good matches. Yeah. And this was one of those, which helped Raw tonight. Kofi ended up getting the win with a Trouble in Paradise after Miz worked the hell out of his knee. Yeah. I thought this was pretty good stuff.
It was a solid match, yeah. Mm-hmm. In Kofi selling his knee would come into play later. Mm-hmm. After that, Lana and Naomi have an interview. Lana says Nia and Shayna walk around like they're the best of all time. Lana says, I just want to be my best. Every week, I'm just trying to reach my full potential. If I win, that's just the cherry on top. Mm-hmm. And she talks about how she has Naomi by her side. Naomi adds that Nia deserves to go through the table And then they make a bunch of hole jokes, referencing Nia saying, "Ow, my hole."
My hole. I mean, as many times as they run that clip, I can't get enough of it. Nia's really funny saying
the delivery on "Ow, my hole" was fantastic. Nia, for a long time, has been very good in her in-ring banter, her trash talk.
She is. After that, we had Randy Orton promo. He says, "Tonight I'm going to win the Gauntlet, become the final entrant." He was about to drop his catchphrase RKO, and right on the O. It cuts to Alexa sort of in a very darkened funhouse. And she says something like, "Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. In the future, he will be reborn." And then the camera sort of is above her, and she's like sitting in the middle of a pentagram.
With candles at each point.
Doing some sort of
occult stuff.
Occult magic stuff. I don't know.
And then
magic
she's laughing and clapping and stuff. After that, Lana versus Shayna Baszler. Shayna, of course, goes right after Lana's arm. Lana, tries to get a little offense in. At one point, slaps Shayna. Shayna's like, drops with the clothesline, gets 2. Then eventually, though, Lana does reverse move, sends Shayna to the second turnbuckle, looks for a comeback. Shayna fends it off, puts her up on the top rope, looks for a gut wrench suplex. Lana fights that off, hits crossbody, gets 2. They trade kicks, so they're both selling on the mat. Then Nia goes over and attacks Naomi, rams her into the apron, tosses in the barricades, looking for a slam or maybe to drive her into the ring post. Instead, Naomi escapes, pushes Nia into the ring post, then kicks her into the ring steps. Shayna is distracted by all that. She tries to go after Naomi. Lana rolls up Shayna. Shayna kicks out, hits Lana with the knee, sinks in the clutch to get the win.
After that, Braun Strowman walks up to Pearce, and he's annoyed that he's not in the Elimination Chamber, and all these other people are getting a jockey for it, especially Morrison. Pearce says, "Look, dude, I'm sorry. It's out of my hands. It's former WWE Champions Elimination Chamber." Braun's like, "Well, I'm a former Universal Champion." And he's like, "Look, dude, that's the deal. It's not, it's out of my hands. It's Shane." He sort of pawns it off on Shane. He didn't want to deal with Braun. Braun says, "All right, fine. We'll take this message to Shane." Says he needs to make this right. Otherwise, it's not going to be pretty around here. Now, they didn't really follow this up.
I was almost expecting Braun to interfere in the Gauntlet match to try to find a way to squeeze himself into that chamber bout.
It would have made a ton of sense, but I guess that sort of just leaves either the chamber or the fact that he doesn't get in the chamber next Raw for him to then not make things pretty around there. Which
maybe he'll go at chamber, rip the door off chamber, and lay some people out.
That could be. I know you took issue with Pearce and Braun. I don't know if you wanted to get into that.
But I'll keep it simple. For me, it's just a long-standing thing. When they set up rules for their universe, in this instance, to be in this chamber match, you have to be a former WWE champion. And you could talk about, in a bubble, it's not a huge deal. But as a long-standing thing where WWE sets up rules in their own show, in their own universe, and don't follow through on them, it gets annoying. So when Miz asked Pearce, or tells Pearce, "Hey, I want Morrison to take my spot," Pearce should have, out of hand, have said, "No, he's not a former WWE champion."
That I agree.
Because he's not.
Because isn't Kofi the only other guy that on the roster that would lay claim to that?
I'd have to double check, but
I'm just sort of off the top of my head. I'm thinking, no, not Lashley.
No, not Lashley.
Nobody in Hurt Business.
So, like, if he has his beef with Braun and says, "No, you're not in because you're a Universal Champion," but really he doesn't want to deal with Braun, whatever. That part actually doesn't bug me as much as him even considering Morrison being in the match because he was never World or WWE or Universal Champion. When Miz says that, he should have said flat out, no, he doesn't meet the criteria.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I mean, we did have a disagreement about it earlier, and I thought that when I saw when I remember Pearce claiming to be following the letter of the law and giving Miz his briefcase back, maybe he just considers Miz a decent guy or something. I don't know. He has an affinity for Miz somehow. because we saw him give him his Money in the Bank briefcase back. And so when Miz comes up to him and says, hey, I want my guy in there. Well, Morrison's a very decorated guy. And I see why he would out of hand dismiss Braun, because Braun headbutted him and got suspended for it. And so he's going to be a dick to Braun and be like, leave me alone. Whereas with Miz coming up to him, it's less, it's like, well, I don't have a grudge against you. So, all right, I'll take it under consideration. Who wouldn't want to see Morrison in the chamber, for one thing, because he's great. And so Pearce has the ability to make judgment calls like that because he has the proxy of the WWE of Shane or Vince or whatever.
I understand that, but the consistency of saying to one person, you can't be in the match because you never won this title, but then using that same criteria, saying, I'll consider you to be in it. You could say, I understand him not wanting Braun in there. Fair enough. Won't argue that. But to consider Morrison even for a spot in there when he's never met the criteria that he put forth. It's creating the rules in your universe and not following through on them. It's the same thing over and over and over on Raw.
I see here. This is the difference, though. For me, this is the difference. When the rules are changed and they come out of nowhere, if they just change, like there's no, and I'm not saying that Pearce was explaining it here. But we see characters interact with each other trying to jockey and get the guy who is the gatekeeper, if you will, to change and to follow. They're politicking him. I'm fine with that because you see the guy who's making the decisions make the decisions. When you have stuff like, and I don't know, I mean, there's a million different ways WWE has changed the rules on whatever, when they did the thing where, we're going to commercial break, and we don't show wrestling during commercial break. So all of a sudden it's going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match, right? That's when there's this weird invisible thing happening that can't be explained, that all of a sudden there's a ton of 2 out of 3 falls matches. I can't stand when the rules are just changed and we're supposed to go along with it. If the characters are changing the rules based on their own biases and judgment, I'm okay with that. That to me is just characters acting, and they're human, so they can be irrational sometimes. They can make decisions that are going against the spirit of what's supposed to be happening.
Now, if I had more of a sense that Pearce actually had some affinity for The Miz and Morrison outside of one instance where he gave him the briefcase, where it's more like, hey, well, this by the letter of the law, you get this back, then maybe I'd be inclined to agree. But for me, it just feels like we have to find some explanation why Braun, as a former champion, is in this match, even though he's on Raw. So we'll just have this. That's it. It just feels like lazy writing to me.
Yeah,
it's because Raw hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
for a long time.
Yeah, in this case, I can see the plot points play out, so I'm okay with it. But I mean, I take your point. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and defend Raw all day for crappy writing because I know damn well that they have a lot of crappy writing. All right, before we continue, here's a word from the sponsor of today's show, ExpressVPN. Larson, I really do love Britain and all things British, and I really want to check out what's happening on the BBC iPlayer. It's free, but it's only available in the United Kingdom.
Well, Steve, with the magic of ExpressVPN, you can control which country the internet thinks you're in. In fact, ExpressVPN has over 90 countries to choose from, so you're only a few clicks away from unlocking access to tons of shows from a variety of streaming platforms from all over the world.
That's right. ExpressVPN is also super fast. It works on your phone, laptop, even your smart TV, so you can watch your shows on the big screen with zero buffering. So be smart. Stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting access to a fraction of their content. Get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/GIR.
Don't forget to use our link so you can get 3 extra months free. That's expressvpn.com/GIR, expressvpn.com/GIR to learn more.
So after that, we had the Gauntlet match. AJ Styles started things off. He had a killer performance in the Gauntlet, as did Drew McIntyre. He had a promo first, like you mentioned before, fairly, disposable stuff here.
Yeah.
Saying, is Kofi trying to recreate Kofi Mania? I kind of feel like they just sort of threw AJ out there and be like, hey, can you just do a promo first and kill some time? He said somehow he fought his way into the chamber on the road to WrestleMania. It's almost like it's his destiny, but it isn't, though, because I'm going to destroy his dreams. I'm going to destroy his destiny. He says something about Ritz and M&Ms I didn't really get. Anyways.
Grits.
I
thought you said grits.
Grits and M&Ms? Is that what he said?
That's what I thought he said. Was it Ritz, like Ritz crackers, or grits?
Shit, I don't know at this point.
I thought he said grits.
No idea. Grits and M&Ms? I mean, that's as weird as Ritz and M&Ms, so I don't know. Anyways, start out with AJ versus Kofi Kingston. Kofi's still selling the previous match with The Miz, so that obviously played into this.
All right, Jorge D says it was grits and M&Ms.
There you go. So AJ took a tumble to the outside at one point. It looked like he banged his head pretty hard against the floor, too. That looked ugly. Kofi sort of jumped on him, and Xavier Woods got on the now sturdy commentary desk and started tromboning at him. That pissed off Amos, who grabbed Xavier Woods and dumped him behind the barricade. I kind of felt that was a bit deserved, man. If you see your dude on the ground and some guys over there with a trombone doing that,
it's kind of a shame they picked like the worst possible camera shot for the actual toss over the.
They do that with Amos to make it look like, oh, this is how big he is. Let's get a camera guy down near his feet.
But it was hard to tell what actually happened to Woods as it was happening because you couldn't really see the barricade there.
I know. I agree. So once he does that, the ref starts giving it to Amos and starts sort of kicking him out and saying, hey, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. As the ref is backing down Amos to tell him to leave, AJ sort of notices the ref is distracted. He sees Kofi and runs at him and gives him a big chop block. After putting him a pretty decent fight, though, AJ hits a phenomenal forearm for 3 on Kofi Kingston. Up next, Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, so Drew gets in there. He's in control immediately. He even busts out like a Michinoku driver. I don't know if we've seen Drew hit a Michinoku driver in WWE yet. Though eventually AJ hits a shot to the throat, mounts a comeback. Drew shakes that off, hits reverse Alabama slam, sets up for Claymore. Instead, AJ hits him with a drop kick. The drop kicks him out of the ring, follows the forearm on the floor, hits like a PK on the apron. Then another phenomenal forearm type thing off the apron. That drives Drew into the ring post. Drew does mount a comeback, tosses AJ across the ring a couple times, goes for a top rope axe handle. AJ counters with the enziguri. He looks for a Styles Clash. Drew backdrops him. AJ sinks in a calf crusher after that. Drew breaks it up with a headbutt. AJ goes for a phenomenal forearm. Drew evades that, hits AJ with the Claymore to get the W. Next up, Jeff Hardy. He had a little picture-in-picture promo on his way to the ring talking about taking risks.
Yeah.
Which you're always like, you don't need to take any more risks, Jeff Hardy. You've taken enough risks.
You've done enough, Jeff Hardy. And then did he say, like, to punctuate, he says something like, it's time to paint?
Is that what he said?
Was it? I don't know. Evidently, I'm not hearing anything on Raw tonight correctly, so maybe I'm off on that.
I don't know.
I'm not going to recount anything anybody said anymore.
All right, very well. Yeah. So Hardy starts pretty fast, hits Whisper the win, that gets him a 2. He goes for a jawbreaker later on. Drew counters with the knee, hits a neck breaker, sets up for a future shock. Hardy escapes that. Drew escapes a twist of fate, then does hit future shock DDT. Hardy kicks out of that, rolls out of the ring. Drew suplexes him to the floor. Drew puts Hardy to the top rope. They trade some blows up there. Drew gets the superplex, gets a 2, goes for a Claymore. Hardy ducks that, hits a twist of fate, goes for a Swanton. Drew gets his knees up, hits a Claymore to get the W. Out next, Randall Keith Orton.
He did say it's time to paint. Okay, so I heard that right. He said, let's get creative. It's time to paint. Okay, kids, get out your watercolors. It's time to paint. You have a match now, Mr. Itchweed.
Mr. Willow.
Yeah, where are we? We're on Randy Orton now?
Yeah, Randall Keith Orton.
All right, so Randall Keith Orton comes out. They have a match.
It instantly goes to commercial.
Okay, so yeah, it did. So back from commercial, Alexa shows up on the Thunderdome screens, and she's got a bunch of weird laughing sounds. And Randy is so put off by this, he keeps on just sort of waiting for something to happen, and the ref counts him out.
Yeah.
And so nothing really even happens here. He just gets counted out, and that's pretty much it.
Well, he tries to get back in the ring, and then Drew claymores him.
Claymore's back out. You're not getting back in here. You just got counted out, dude. So after that, we have Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre. Sheamus's video package plays. He's waiting for the entrance. Sheamus runs up behind Drew McIntyre, attacks from behind. Some really good stuff between these two. Drew's putting up a hell of a performance. Drew goes for a Claymore. Sheamus dodges, hits a bro kick to get the pin here on Drew McIntyre. There's a great image there of Sheamus pinning the champion. He gets on the mic afterwards, says, "I just pinned the WWE champion, which makes me last in Elimination Chamber, which makes the odds on me to be the odds on favorite to win WWE Championship. I'm going to prove Sunday that it's no fluke." And then we're out. That's Raw.
Yeah, it was a pretty brief show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what Drew's only third loss in a while, or something. Second loss in a while. Got pinned by Randy. Did he get pinned by Randy once or twice during their whole thing? I know once, obviously, to win the title, but he got pinned in a tag match. I don't remember by who.
Yeah, I don't know.
So they made a deal of Drew getting pinned in that tag match.
Yeah. No, it's to your point, it's very rare that happens. And this was it was a pretty effective way. So yeah, we both know how this is going to go down. Sheamus is going to come out last. I mean, who knows? There might be more people in the chamber at the time, but it's going to come down to those two, and they're going to have their match there. Maybe they'll rematch it at Fastlane. I'd still like to see Drew and Sheamus and Keith Lee somehow at WrestleMania. I think that's a triple threat that people be into, but maybe you're right. Maybe it'll be Edge.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think in terms of the pacing of storylines, because you got to assume Drew wins at Chamber, then he and Sheamus have the one-on-one bout at Fastlane. And so they really can't go back to that well again at Mania unless Sheamus somehow beats Drew for the title, and then Drew gets it back at Mania. But
I have a real hard time believing that's going to happen. I mean, what do you think has more? So you've got Edge out there. What seems like it's on the road to a quicker ending? Drew versus Sheamus or Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns?
Well, I also feel like that they got more options for Reigns over on SmackDown than Raw has for McIntyre. I mean, pretty much for Drew, with who's on the roster, it's for Mania matchup is Sheamus, Keith Lee, or both of them. This kind of feels like it.
Yeah.
You know,
unless they bring Brock back, which there hasn't been any indication.
Or it's Edge. Whereas on SmackDown, you know, you have someone else win the chamber match, lose to Roman following that, maybe a rematch at Fastlane. And if you want to, you could go back to Owens at Mania, but he'd have to win.
Or you still got Daniel Bryan there.
Daniel Bryan, you have Cesaro.
Yeah.
I mean, Cesaro's a bit of a long shot, I think, for a Mania match, but he's there in the picture. He's still got Jay. Again, a long shot, but you can't discount him entirely given the story they've told. I just feel like there's more options potentially. And Brock for that, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be curious to see if Brock is going to show up. They didn't mention Edge at all tonight, did they?
Apart from Miz more or less addressing his criticisms of him last week to open the show, no.
And then on Friday...
Last Friday, Roman talked about him quite a bit.
He did. Seems like that's probably going to be
That's probably where they're going to go.
Yeah.
That's probably where they're going to go.
Yeah. Which, I don't know how that's going to... If that's main event's night 2, I'm still...
Yeah.
I got to get a little closer, man. I got to get a little bit closer to WrestleMania to figure that one out. Let's see here. Let's answer some questions. Huh?
Sure. Neat Kyle.
Excuse me.
Neat Kyle says, so Asuka is no opponent for Elimination Chamber so far. Power rank top 3 potential replacements for Lacey Evans other than Charlotte.
I mean, I know where all my confidence points are going to go if it's Peyton Royce.
Yeah.
I mean, it's her tag team partner.
Yeah.
So
you can go Peyton. I mean, that would make the most sense.
You could go. There's no setup for it, so I don't know. I mean, you couldn't do Alexa.
Well, they're set up for Alexa. I mean, didn't Alexa was on the verge of beating her until Randy RKO'd her a few weeks back.
Yeah, but I mean, any sort of hint that that's going to turn into a match this Sunday. There's no more Raws between now and Sunday.
I know.
I mean, yeah, they could do something during the show.
Yeah, if you're cool not having any setup, then there's a wealth of matches you could have, a wealth of opponents you could have for Asuka. You know, you could have Dana, you could have Mandy, you could have Nikki Cross. Basically anybody else in the women's roster. What's that?
They're going to announce this on Twitter or something? I know. Maybe. I was just trying to think of some sort of like something that like a motivation that's already in place.
Yeah.
Let's see here. WWE's Twitter. Let's see if if they actually wrote Asuka as an actual character, she could do an open challenge. And that would be totally like she has talked multiple times about loving challenges. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't she be an open challenge person?
Yeah, I know. Jorge D with Young Rock premiering tomorrow. What other young version of wrestlers which should get a show? Their story could be in kayfabe.
That show looks good, by the way. That show looks really good.
It's like I promised, yeah. The cast looks great.
The cast looks fantastic.
It
looks like a high quality sitcom, you know, like it looks like a Malcolm in the Middle where it's like, you know, it's not cheesy sitcom garbage.
So their story could be kayfabe or shoot. So what other wrestlers should get the Young Rock treatment? Oh. Well, I mean, maybe not. I was thinking someone else who is a third generation wrestler. However, some of his adventures, shall we say, of his youth, I don't know how they want to talk about in any sort of lighthearted sitcom manner. I'm talking about Randy Orton.
Yeah. You know what would be great? How about you do this? You do a Samoa Joe, young Samoa Joe, but Samoa Joe plays 10-year-old Samoa Joe.
Good. So do you like force perspective to make him look like?
No. Okay. He's just huge. Okay. And he's supposed to be, and he just acts like Samoa Joe, but it's supposed to be his recollection. It's his recollection of being a 10-year-old.
Okay, that's good.
But because it's told from his perspective, he's just Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good.
White Brownie, should Asuka consider taking the Baszler route or stick around and hope it gets better? What, on main roster?
I mean, she's champion. I mean, look, I know they don't write her as like a real character. She's just holding the title. But on the other hand, she's been champion for a very long time now.
I know, since what, May?
June? May, yeah.
May
I guess
June,
May.
it was.
Yeah. Alex Foster, if Pearce had to have a match at Mania, who would you want to be against? What's that dude name? The other WWE official that shows up every once in a while?
Pat Buck.
To officially qualify Adam Pearce as head WWE official.
That's good. Night by night, your closest neighbor has just built an enormous, towering water slide in their backyard. Though you're enticed by the obvious fun this ride could bring you, your neighbor informs you that it is yet to be inspected and licensed for safe use by humans. To ensure that you don't take any unnecessary risks, what Raw superstar do you hire to test out the water slide on your behalf?
Miz, because he was on that water slide show.
What was that one called?
Wasn't called
Cannonball.
Wipeout.
Cannonball.
Thank
Cannonball.
you. Yeah.
Someone mentioned that tonight.
Yes.
Oh, New Day mentioned that tonight, I believe.
Yes.
Crossface Chicken Stain, the AJ and Drew part makes me wish they feuded longer. Agreed. I'm really surprised they didn't continue their feud whatsoever after TLC.
Yeah, same. I agree. Christopher Rampersad asks, is The Miz going to cash in this Sunday? No, I feel like he's just a story device to sort of try to add tension to the proceedings. He keeps on threatening to do it, so he's always this looming thing. But on the other hand, he's The Miz, so he's not a threat in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, he was touting himself to be a master strategist, yet the strategy that he set forth tonight blew up in his face because he dropped out of the chamber match. Morrison's not in there as proxy, so whatever plans he had blew up. I'm just trying to do something Drew and Sheamus should touch until they eliminate everyone else in the chamber. That'd be cool.
That's good. That'd be cool. That's good.
I don't know what my username is with the sub. Thank you very much.
David Matushik. Do you ever feel grossed out when it comes to old man, young woman storylines in general? I mean, how old is Lacey Evans?
I think she's in her 30s.
Mid-30s? She's old enough
that.
to make those decisions. Whatever they want. I mean, I don't want to watch them do it, but, beyond that, I don't really care. They're grown up. They're adults. This is real world people. I don't know. Let's see here.
White Brownie, you only have $20. You need to make dinner for your family. What's for dinner? No fast food or takeout, by the way. What meal can you make for $20?
What meal can you make for $20? $20 goes a long way.
It really does.
I mean, I could have made I'm pretty sure my meatloaf tomorrow is going to be less than $20.
Yeah, you can make meatloaf for less than $20. Easy.
I mean, what's ground beef? Like $5, $6, something like that? Like a pound and a half?
I can make chili for less than $20.
They can make chili for like
most expensive thing would be if I got because I use chicken, I'll use ground beef for my chili.
Mm-hmm. That's a little pricier than
Yeah, if I get the chicken breast, that's like $12 right there. But I get chicken thighs, it's cheaper.
Dude, you can get like a whole rotisserie chicken at Winco for $5. It's hella
That's
good,
pretty cheap.
Yeah, I know. It's Costco price. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
$20. Where is this person living? Gee whiz.
Ryan Rubik's Cube. Full credit to my roommate on this idea. Retribution attacks Kofi on his way to the chamber on Sunday, and Mustafa Ali pulls an edge and locks himself in a pod to enter the match, keeps the feud going, and also is a mirror of when Kofi got Ali's spot. Yay or nay on the idea? I think that'd be cool. But Adam Pearce would have to come out there. He locked him in the pod, says, sorry, Mustafa, you are not a former WWE champion. We can't have you in this match.
Unless he had an affinity for Mustafa Ali. Which you wouldn't think he would, because Retribution, took out the power a couple times on Raw.
Yeah, no.
Let's see here. How do you think Moses opposes? How do you think Alexa or the Fiend will be involved in the Raw Elimination Chamber? Randy Orton is going to disappear from the chamber, right?
Probably.
He's just going to be teleported.
Poof, he'll be gone.
He's going to be teleported out of the chamber.
Shane's birthday tweet after catching up on NXT from last night. Pick your favorite faction member turned from the modern era, early 2000 and older eras. Oh, modern era, early 2000s, older. Oh, like when Batista told Triple H thumbs down.
That was
Great.
the best. That was
Great.
the best. That was the best. What was better? That was probably the better thing than when they had the youngest world champion Randy Orton up on Batista's shoulders and Triple H did the thumbs down and they dumped him and kicked him out of the group. That was great. The poor Randy Orton.
That was great.
And ever since then, he's been, screw you guys. I'm Legend Killer. More recently, I guess this is when they.
I'm going to say when the Elite left the Bullet Club.
That was the worst. That was the absolute dirt worst.
Oh, man.
That was so bad. I remember being so confused because everything was so cool. And then it was like Tom and Tonga just happened. And it just tweets, Jay White's the leader of Bullet Club. What?
Yes. It's like they did it all through paperwork and court filings.
What?
That's not cool.
Yeah, I woke up and I see this tweet from Tama Tonga.
I want to fight, and whoever's staying in Bullet Club should win because that's how wrestling works. That's what I want. Because then whoever sticks around gets that rub, gets some momentum going to the future.
Oh man, I can't wait to see what happens at New Year's Dash.
Wait, the Elite didn't show up?
They didn't show up? What?
Wait, they're starting their own promotion? They said they were going to do that before Wrestle Kingdom?
AEW, that's a work. Or they're working us with that name. That name is so bad. That'll never come to pass.
Oh, this has got to be a placeholder name.
This has got to be a Dynamite. What kind of stupid name is that? That's a placeholder. It's going to be something cool. Oh, my goodness.
Dylan wants you to do your Jesse Ventura impression. Would you like to do that?
Would you like to do a Jesse Ventura impression? Do you know why? Who is that? Dylan? Dylan wanted me to do that?
Yeah.
Do you know why Retribution wasn't on the show tonight?
Why?
There's a grand conspiracy to keep Retribution off the show. Do you know why?
Okay. I'm just trying to do something. There are two good stories for Edge with each champion, but Roman becoming more obsessed with Edge is looking more likely the match we get at Mania. Yeah, once Roman mentioned Edge on SmackDown, I was like,
Wouldn't it be awesome if they show, like, during one of the segments, Kevin Owens is having a match and it cuts to Roman Reigns in his suite, and there's like a little picture of Edge taped to the wall, and then the next week there's like a bigger poster of him. There's like a picture of the live sex show up there,
and then a mural, like the whole wall's painted.
He's wearing an Edge t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got a
like bleaches his hair like Edge, like it's the same color as Edge.
He's got those cheesy Edge shoes that Edge wears.
Yeah, the custom Jordans.
Those are so cheesy.
Gary MacArthur booked Tucky joining Retribution because he got screwed after they were split up.
He makes Christian be his best friend.
There you go.
What now? Do what?
Isn't that still one of the weirdest things that they never even like main event had a sort of match between Tucky and Otis after Tucky screwed Otis out of the Money in the Bank briefcase?
Yeah. That was like when the Elite left Bullet Club.
And like Survivor Series is right there. Just have it on the kickoff show of Survivor Series. They were on separate brands.
The kickoff show, exactly. They're on separate brands. Give them a fucking match.
Didn't make any sense. Dylan, what if Asuka did an open challenge and Rhea answered it? That'd be great.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be fantastic. Hammond Serrano, which is a great name.
It is a great name. Sorry, someone. White Brownie said he should do a Young Mongo show.
Oh, how good would that be if Mongo played Young Mongo?
Oh no, White Brownie also says Sid, Young Sid.
When I was a kid, I went to school because that's what you do when you go to school. When you're a kid, you go to school. What are you talking about? Hammond Serrano says, "What do you think has the highest success rate? Damian Priest babysitting your children, Zach Gibson selling your house, or John Morrison as your personal trainer?"
Oh, John Morrison is my personal trainer. He's probably a great trainer.
He's probably a terrific trainer.
Learn to do all sorts of parkour stuff. That'd be fun.
Damian Priest would be fine as a babysitter. I'd trust him to be a babysitter. Mm-hmm. Maybe not back when he was like exclusively hot tub guy, but he's a good guy now.
Yeah.
Zach Gibson selling my house in kayfabe. That'd be terrible.
He'd be like talking the house up. Soon to be a new owner of this beautiful 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Why'd you just spit on me?
I know.
Soon to have the keys to this house.
Be recognized.
On the deed of the homeowner.
Yeah. Why are you talking like that? Didn't even put an offer in yet.
Why are you whisper yelling at me? Sign this paperwork.
Why? I'm going to put an offer in this dump.
Man, you got to watch Stathlets Flats. I already told you, mate. No doors, just ropes. Why is there no doors? It's all ropes. Let's see here. Dog Authority figure. What would you like to be different about the Fiend when he returns? He's like completely burnt to a crisp. He's like still just super burnt.
How about this? This is really messed up. How about this? Like someone tries to do a move, like grab his arm to Irish whip him, and like his hand just falls off.
It just comes off.
Yeah.
And he looks down at it, looks at the guy. Oh, man, that's good. Somebody posted a clip on Twitter. I have no idea who it was, but it was a 3-second scene from Blade, the movie. Mm-hmm. And it's been 20 years since I've seen Blade. And it's a dude who's in like this weird room who's covered in blood, and then another guy who's like on fire. And he's like sort of, struggling because he's on fire. And like a fire chief and a couple of firemen come in and they mosey in, and the fire chief says to the guy with the fire extinguisher, "Put that guy out." "Yes, sir." He goes over there. Nobody's rushing to his aid. They just sort of saunter in. "Hey, put that guy out."
I don't know what my username is. Hey, friendos, I just quit my delivery job after being forced to drive in the ice storm and corporate forcing us to lose hourly pay.
What?
That's awful.
God damn. I'm so tired of that crap.
Yeah. Your podcast, The Deadlock Boys, have been getting me through. Are you all fans of Deadlock Pod merch at all? Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
We each have a Deadlock shirt.
Yeah.
We love Deadlock.
Tony Pizza Guy.
Tony Pizza Guy is like one of the nicest guys I met.
Great people. Ricky wants you to check your Twitter DM, Steve.
Yeah, I already did. I defended you. He sent me a really, really poorly designed Larson family t-shirt design. And I said, you want me to tell you what I told him? I said this. I said, this is terrible. Never interrupt me during the show unless it's amazing graphic design. And then he said, I spent the last 30 minutes making that. It's terrible. Look at this. It's just like a Photoshop of your head with the neck tattoo with like, you spent 30 minutes making that? Just stop trying to make stuff like this, okay? Because you're wasting your time. This is terrible, Ricky. And like, there's a weird like white border on this side right here. Refuse to believe you spent 30 minutes on that.
Dr. Burgerman in kayfabe, how do you think Lacey's husband feels about in kayfabe? Okay, how do you think Lacey's husband feels about the Flair story?
Well, he's like, man, I'm cool being cucked to Ric Flair. Fine with that. Let's see here. Breeze Mellon says, how do we logically get Charlotte versus Asuka now? There's no logic to it. You can't logically get there. Charlotte can ask Asuka for a match.
Yeah.
That's the only
they really should have started the feud when they lost the tag titles because it was all right there. There was that promo where Asuka was basically at her wit's end with Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
You have they have their number one contender match that they lose.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte gets distracted there. Asuka's like, all right, enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how you got there. Instead, they went further with the Lacey Charlotte thing.
Well, I don't even know why they would have. Like, Charlotte went literally the night they came back and won the tag titles. The next night on Raw, Charlotte said, hey, by the way, Asuka.
Yeah.
I scratched my back, you scratch my, whatever it is. Can't fool me twice. And then, like, she got interrupted. And they never picked that thread up again. That was, like, ages ago. All right. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.
Help support Going In Raw today by becoming a Friendo Club TV member. You'll get access to new bonus episodes every week, including Friendo Club Arcade, Live Power Rank, Vintage 10 for the Wins, and Ask Steven Larson. Get access to Friendo Club TV today by becoming a $5 and up patron at patreon.com/Steven Larson, by throwing us a sub at twitch.tv/Steven Larson, or by clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson.